understand why we lift our hands and sing praises. And people can't comprehend that when we dance we're not crazy. See, maybe they don't realize that sitting high is the Father. And this is what we were created for, nothing less or more but to worship you. And I just wanna say that yours is the best love that I've ever had. And I just wanna say that I think it's only fair that we give it back. I love you. I love you. Just as surely as I know my name, I know one thing I'll never.
Hey guys, this is Safina and you are watching A King's Love Convo. So the other day I was having a conversation with my co-workers, and they're like grilling me because I'm known as the the Christian girl at my job. And so this one girl at my job named Tashana, she's asking me all these questions and asking me like, you don't drink, you don't party, you don't have sex, you don't do all these things. And she really admired that. I couldn't really take the credit for it because I knew that it wasn't me that was able to do that based on my own strength. She was basically saying that she wishes that she was able to live that type of lifestyle now, and she eventually does, but she still wants to get it out of her system. And then when she gets to a certain age, that's when she wants to give her life to Christ. And I feel like that's a lot of people's attitude. A lot of our attitudes is like, all right, I'm gonna do me, and then when I'm like 50, 60 years old, I ain't got nothing else to really do, and I'm too old to be in a club popping bottles. That's when I'm gonna give my life to God and be like, I surrender. I really asked her, I'm like, how do you know you're even gonna make it to that certain age? A lot of us feel like we have to be saved in order to get saved. A lot of us are like, all right, let me get it together first, and then I'm gonna come to God. When God is like, no, come as you are and let me get you together. God is the one that changes us. God is the one that changed me. It wasn't me. It wasn't I was so strong and I was just this Christian superhero and I'm like, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. It's literally God who came into my heart and he started to change my desires and change how I felt. So in this video I kind of want to break down what exactly that process is, because I feel like that's not really explained much, especially in the church. It's like, okay, we go to the altar and then we cry and we say this prayer and that's awesome, but what happens next? Like, what does it really look like to be saved and to really have that relationship with Christ? Once I gave my life to Christ, once I started to have that relationship with him, at that time I was in a very like dramatic, abusive like relationship, a crazy relationship, which actually led me to getting saved. It's in Colossians where it talks about a spiritual circumcision, where it's God literally cuts out your heart. He takes out your heart and he replaces it with his. And God says, I will give you a new heart. I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. So at that time, like I said, I was in a very abusive relationship, and that dude had my mind twisted. Like that was my, as crazy as it sounds, like that was my God, that relationship, him and everything. When I got saved, it was literally like God just started to change my desires. I literally like looked at him one day and realized like, what the heck am I doing? Like I no longer had a desire to be with this person. And like I said, it was somebody who I was with for years at a very young age. And so like he had my mind twisted. And I really got to a point, when I had my relationship with God, where I just started to, the stronghold that he had on me, long story short, was broken. And I all of a sudden looked at him and I was like, what am I doing? And he started to change my desires. And I remember the last time, mind you, I wasn't saved, and so me and him were together and we were living in sin, having sex and all of that. And I remember the last time we were intimate, it was the most disgusting feeling I had. I got saved, but I still was in that relationship. And I remember the last time we were intimate, it felt disgusting. Like it felt like I was being raped. Like it felt so disgusting. So that's an example of what God does when he comes into your heart. He starts to change you and he starts to mold you. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It's something called the sanctification process, where he changes you little by little through prayer and fasting and reading your word. He changes you more and more and more and more and more. Just because I'm saved doesn't mean I'm not tempted. Because you still have that human part of you, that fleshy part of you that does not want to do the right thing, that does not want to do God's will. It's a constant battle between your sinful nature and then the spirit part of you, and it's constantly at war. But it's up to us to decide which one we're gonna let lead our lives. And I remember I was so real with God, and I was like, look, I don't know if you're out there, but I just know that I need help and I can't do this on my own. I need you. If you're real, then make yourself known to me and help me and help me to get out of this situation that I felt like was so hopeless and so impossible to get out of. And that's exactly what he did. And when you really surrender your heart to God and when you really cry out to him, he will listen to you. And I don't care what you did. I always say, like, it's impossible. It's impossible to have a real encounter with God and not be changed. That's like going to work, right? And you're late. And your boss asks you why you're late. And you're like, yo, you wouldn't believe what happened to me. I was on my way to work and I got hit by, you know, a 5-ton 18-wheeler truck. And your boss looks at you and you don't have not one scratch, not one bruise. Your makeup is perfectly fine. Your hair is fine. You look totally fine. Your boss will look at you like you're crazy, and she will probably fire you for lying, because it's impossible to have an encounter with something of that magnitude and not be affected by it. So it's the same way with God. It's impossible to have an encounter with the true living God, the one and only God. It's impossible to have an encounter with him and not be affected and not be changed by it. I'm telling you, you could debate my theology, but you cannot debate my testimony and what I've experienced. So I really encourage you to just give God a chance and to surrender to him and to just stop fighting him, because he will fight for you. And I'm telling you, it's the best decision that you will ever make in your life. Thank you guys for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.
She in there preaching. She preaching.